about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
And we're back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-Doc-Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So there has been a lot of back and forth as it pertains to marijuana. Does it help control pain? Does it help people with their appetite and with glaucoma? Or are there multiple health risks as it pertains to people's cognitive ability, memory, heart risk, cancer, psychosis? And, we've been sadly seeing since the massive legalization of marijuana across the United States, a lot more ER visits, a lot more psychosis, depression, and vomiting, as in cannabis hyperemesis syndrome, which we've talked about. And, we doctors are going back and forth going, look, this rescheduling is a good idea because, unfortunately, marijuana has been in a class that has been more severe than other medications, such as fentanyl and hydrocodone and oxycodone, and it hasn't made a lot of sense, especially since we want to find medicinal applications for it. Well, interestingly, we have a study now that is actually citing health risks to marijuana. Now, I'm not ready to say it's safe and the healthiest thing out there, but this is a fascinating study. Researchers at the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus looked at how marijuana could actually increase brain volume and cognitive fitness. They used brain scans and cognitive test results, according to Fox News, for more than 26,000 adults who were between the ages of 40 and 77. They used a UK biobank for the data. And they found that those who were cannabis users, especially those who reported moderate lifetime use, rather than showing decreased brain volume, showed larger volumes in several brain regions. According to lead study author Anika Guha, who's a PhD researcher at the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus, said compared to individuals with no history of cannabis use, those who reported using cannabis showed larger volumes in several brain regions characterized by a high density of cannabinoid or CB1 receptors, regions involved in processes such as memory, information processing, and emotion regulation. They say cannabis users also scored better on cognitive tests that measured learning, processing speed, and executive function. Now, we have been seeing time and time again, it's slowing, right? People's cognitive or processing speed and affecting people's memory. And this is saying the opposite. They say this outcome differs from many previous studies. Yeah, it does, which is focused on short-term cognitive impairment during or shortly after the cannabis use. So the research is saying that's what makes the study different, because this is looking at across the lifespan. No. You keep listening to, I don't want you going to no. Don't be going to a marijuana shop. You sit your tissue back down and listen. Anyway, they say that these findings suggest that maybe it's because they're looking at across the lifespan. Maybe moderate use in mid to later adulthood may be associated with positive brain health outcomes. Now, not all areas of the brain improved with pot. They say the posterior cingulate, which is involved in like self-reflection and memory, did shrink, have lower volume if the person had higher marijuana use. And so this is interesting because I like to kind of look at, the bigger picture of it. If let's say you have somebody who's been using marijuana and they've been using it long term, are they using it if they're between the ages of 40 and 77 to party, right? Get high? Or are these 40 to 77-year-olds using marijuana for issues that'll prevent them from, shall we say, going to the alcohol or going to the sleeping medication? So, for example, if somebody is 50 years old and they're using marijuana regularly, there's a good chance they're doing it because they're in pain, they're having trouble sleeping, or they think it's going to help their, functioning. or their memory or their ability to work. But you see, it's a little different than the younger crowd using pot to get high. When I hear a 45-year-old or a 55-year-old or a 65-year-old is using marijuana, it could be because they have diabetes or they have another issue and they're going to the marijuana instead of going to the narcotic or instead of going to the alcohol or instead of overeating. Now, I mean, they could still be overeating, they could still be drinking, they could still be smoking and doing other things. But that's something I would like to look at. Is it that these individuals doing moderate marijuana are avoiding the things that other non-marijuana users are using? And that's not how, like, for example, we spoke about how cough syrups used to have alcohol. Many of them still have narcotics. But now that we don't use cough syrups with narcotics because we're trying to avoid narcotic use in people, I'm seeing people go to steroid after steroid after steroid, overtaking antibiotics. And so, you have this group of population that said 1 teaspoon would do the trick, but now I'm treating a week of coughing or my cough's extended and now I'm using multiple other medications, and those medications could have side effects. I'm not saying go to the narcotic cough syrup, but maybe what's happening is people are so afraid of marijuana that they're thinking their alcohol use, their sleeping pills, their other things that they're going to, their antihistamine use is better. And we have seen time and time again that sleeping pills, whether they're over the counter or prescription, could affect your memory, could affect your longevity, your life expectancy. Somebody getting a little anxious and deciding to go to a marijuana gummy might be another person who decides to go to chocolate or go to carbs. So, then are those other activities affecting the brain? So this is fascinating. Like I said, I think we need to continue to study. We do need to make sure this isn't politics driven, but science driven. And let's just kind of take a look and see what the pros and cons are. But in terms of rescheduling, I think rescheduling it a 3, I don't have a problem with that. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years, stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So what makes a good president? With President's Day, we're supposed to kind of think about and reflect, right? Our former presidents, honor them, and then also reflect on what we as Americans expect and want, to be the leader of our country. And President's Day was originally about George Washington's birthday, February 22nd. And then later it evolved to also include Abraham Lincoln, whose birthday was February 12th. And then with the Uniform Labor Act, I think it's called, that was in 1968, where they said, why don't we make these federal holidays 3-day weekends? So people got 3-day weekends. See, I kind of have an issue with that a little bit because, like with Veterans Day, I'm so glad we didn't make Veterans Day a 3-day weekend, because Veterans Day is supposed to be about, it was Armistice Day, and how on November 11th at the 11th hour, that's when World War I ended. There's some meaning to the days. And when I was little, I remember we had George Washington's birthday on the 22nd. We had Abraham Lincoln's birthday on the 12th. And we reflected upon them in class and all that. We weren't necessarily off. But, because President's Day can incorporate both of their birthdays and fall on Valentine's Day weekend, society wants it to be a 3-day weekend. Okay, so it's a 3-day weekend. That's great. 3-day weekends are nice. But I really do think we need to be doing some reflection. Now, some of you will be buying a mattress because apparently President's Day is about mattresses. So there's going to be mattress sales. There might also be car sales, and that's great. If you can get a good deal on a car and a good deal on a mattress, that's fine. But I think the reason why we do these is because, George Washington put his life at risk, for this country. Abraham Lincoln gave his life for this country. And we've had presidents that have just, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for their leadership. Now, what makes a good president? When you reflect and you look at previous presidents, current presidents, what makes a president good? Okay, well, one, where they're putting, America first. I'm not saying this to honor any particular political party, but where they don't let their constituents starve, be homeless, not have, the benefits they need, not be taken care of, but say, oh, no, we want you. We want to please you. So we're going to help you. We're going to help you over there. The Americans will suck it up. They just have to kind of suck it up. So somebody kind of putting America first, going, look, we're going to make sure you're secure. We're going to make sure you're safe. We're going to make sure you're fed. We're going to make sure you don't have to worry about getting attacked or, whatever. And so a good president is one that ensures the safety of their constituents. Another good president is one that expands America by immigrants, having immigrants come in legally, by making America a home for those individuals who want freedom. And so allowing there to be a legal process to, where people can, they have to be vetted and all that, but inviting America is so great because of immigrants. I'm a daughter of an immigrant. It's, but they also have to ensure that it's a legal process, right? Because otherwise illegal immigrants are like, wait, hey, come on, man. Why am I doing it right if I could do it wrong? I think also a good president needs to understand that we have threats and to not, be asleep on the job, to be aware that, we are not, we're coveted, people are jealous. People would love to knock America out of, the top spot of being the most, military savvy and wealthiest country and all that. We are a world power, and a president needs to, not be, so, okay, we're good and complacent, where they need to understand that. A good president is somebody that sees ahead, looks ahead. Like our founding fathers, they knew that there would be issues where the bigger, more populous states would try to overrun things. So the less populous states wouldn't have a voice. And they knew we needed to protect Rhode Island. I mean, we needed to protect South Carolina. I mean, they knew that they had to, at that time, protect states that weren't going to have large population centers. And that's where they came up with the Electoral College, et cetera. And so you know, what makes a good president is understanding that even somebody who's not in the majority still needs representation and protection. And then, you know, also a good president, you know, and somebody who leads is very, I should say, communicative with people. And I understand there's a lot of things that, you know, military intelligence, there's a lot of things that sometimes you kind of have to, you know, keep classified. And that's why we have classified information. And I get that because there's spies and now everybody reports everything. And so there's, you know, there's no privacy. But a president isn't, well, you know what, I'm in the White House, do as I say, not as I do. And, you know, you're not going to have access to me. Sorry. You know, they need to say, this is what we're doing. I mean, you want to look in the office? This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. Okay. I'm the one running the show, not my wife, not somebody else. So, you know, people need to know who is it that they elected. And then, you know, is that person running things? Which I think, you know, I mean, if Gavin Newsom wins the Democratic primary and wins the presidency, I think he's going to be transparent. He loves the camera. And I think he's going to, you know, and also he's going to want to follow in Trump's footsteps in terms of the you know, press conferences and all that, you know, because he's going to want, you know, people to feel that, you know, he's not hiding anything, you know, you know, is he going to hide something? Who knows? I mean, is Trump hiding something? Who knows? But at least Trump is you know, on a daily basis talking to reporters. You know, I mean, are we getting every single thing? No. Classified information? No. You know, but as he's saying, look, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. I'm not just signing executive orders behind a curtain. You know, the public needs to know. Now, what makes a good president is unifying a country. How do we get a president that's going to unify a country when we are so split? And you know, you'll see all candidates, whether they're Republican or Democrat, they'll make sense. They'll say, you know, this is what we need. This is what we need. But you know, so when you look at, let's say, the immigration aspect of it, you know, you're going to have one side saying we want legal immigration. We want immigrants to come here. We want them to follow a legal pathway. And somebody who doesn't follow the rules and does it illegally is going to have to go the back of the line, you know, because we want to honor what the legal immigrants are doing and have them in. And we also want to make sure we don't have wolves in sheep's clothing and criminals coming in. But then you have the other side saying we don't want a fascist regime who is splitting up families and tearing Americans apart and killing Americans or whatever. And so you have all sides going, well, that side makes sense to me. That side makes sense to me. And then the rhetoric is going. And so I think a president needs to be somebody that can, you know, somehow, yeah, you can't do anything with the fringes, but with the majority of Americans who are moderate, saying, look, you know, this is what we want. We want legal process. We want a legal pathway. You know, we want, you know, people to feel safe in their communities. You know, we want less government, but, you know, and also, unfortunately, we're going to probably struggle if we have to keep cleaning messes up with other presidents. You know, people keep saying, you know, Dahlia, the Republicans never repealed and replaced Obamacare. So now who's to blame for the healthcare system? Is it Obama, who back in 2009 did Obamacare, or is it the Republicans who have been in office since and never fixed it? You know, and so the blame game keeps coming up. And so, you know, what a leadership, a president needs to do is, one, listen to the people. And maybe, you know, I know there's these polls, but maybe there's a better way to do it where people don't think the polls are biased, where you can actually listen to the constituents on what you need. You know, I mean, you know, is it that, you know, guys, you're loving, you know, what you have in terms of healthcare, but it's, you know, you want more of it, or you want, you know, unfortunately, people are voicing based on an ideology of Democrat versus Republican. And now the Democrats are split because they're like, wait a second here, you know, we're not really progressive. We're moderate, but, you know, our voice is getting split. Same thing with Republicans. You know, you have a lot of Republicans who are pro-Israel. Now you have, you know, Republicans, you know, and Democrats who are like, no, sorry. And so, it's not a very simple right left anymore. And you have, we're pro women, we're feminists, we're here for women, and we want the government out of abortion legislation. But then, do we want women to excel in sports? Do we want women to be able to compete against a man in a boxing ring? So, a good president is it's hard to try to, find the common ground and the common sense and continue with that platform. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
In many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. So when I was little and I thought of the future, what did I imagine the future to be like? So I was thinking about spaceships. Most of my, I remember I'm a kid in the 80s. So most of my, shall we say, projections of what the future would be like was based on sci-fi shows. Like I thought doctors were going to use that wand that the Doc used on Star Trek. Back to the Future 2 talked about hoverboards and flying cars and food would be dehydrated NASA style, and then we would add water and hydrate, and then it would make like a whole pizza like he's on Back to the Future 2. So I always thought that would be the future. But I didn't know. I mean, I thought we'd have robots and things like that. Well, CES, Consumer Electronics Show, has really, really cool stuff. And you saw some amazing robots. And I didn't go to CES this year. I didn't have time. But wow, some of the things that they had that would be in our future, pretty incredible. It's interesting. My mother said back in the 1950s, she went to this fair or this show and they actually had this prototype. It was a small machine that allowed you to talk to somebody on the screen, like what we do now with our phones. But she told me back in the 80s that she saw something like that in the 1950s. And they said later, we are going to be able to talk to each other through screens, through TVs. And I was like, no way, you're high. No, that's what we saw in the 1950s. I was like, whoa, wow. I still wouldn't believe that. Even if you told me in the 90s, Dahlia, you'd be able to sit here and look at weather and look at news while you're at a stadium or while you're watching a movie, and you'll get to know what's going on outside just by looking at your phone. I'm like, no, you're lying. Because I'm not very good with extrapolating what we have now and how that'll look in the future. But CES helps do that so you can see what's out there. And they say the new buzzword was physical AI. So physical is AI is where AI is not so much just what you get on your computer, but self-driving cars, humanoid factory workers. According to PC Mag, this includes robot puppies, robot butlers, robot bartenders, And the idea is to make physical devices smarter and more practical, where a car could handle more nuances on the road without driver input. Now, as much as I love driving and I want my hands on the wheel, I do not want to do a self-driving car. I do support and I am excited about knowing that that car can also pick up on things that I might not be able to. Now, let's say I'm driving at night and I don't see as well as during the day. Will that car be an additional set of eyes? Don't do Jesus take the wheel, but I'm not ready for that yet. But will it find something that I'm not looking at? If I'm sitting at a stoplight, will my car detect that someone's about to carjack me one block down the road and then be able to alert me so I could get to a safe area with the car? I mean, these are things that could be pretty cool. But a robot factory worker, a robotic bartender, we're going to lose our jobs. What about these robot puppies and these robot animals? Can they comfort older patients? Well, being that dogs go pee-pee house and they trip you, I can't tell you how many times I trip over my dog and cats in the middle of the night. I don't know why they like to be at my feet and ankles. They know I'm going to trip over them. Idiots. I don't get that. They're just, So I would never recommend a live animal, for somebody who's older and is at fall risk. But having, having something that decreases social isolation is, I think, very good. In fact, I was thinking about getting this real soft teddy bear, and my friend's granddaughter got her this really cute octopus toy. And it's sitting there, and I can't help but look at it. I like looking at Christmas lights, and I like looking at soft toys. I don't like to be surrounded by toys. I don't like having teddy bears. I'm not into that. But a funny looking octopus I like, and apparently it cheers her grandma up, and so I really do see how robotic animals that you don't trip on or don't cause fall risk could be advantageous. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang had a keynote address. He predicted that as AI models become more accessible, it is inevitable that anyone, not just large companies, will be able to program and customize robots for their work and home. NVIDIA has been touting this vision for several years, and the rest of the industry is now catching up. So one thing they showed were these TVs, these ultra vivid screen TVs. And boy, I'm looking at one of these and wow, I mean, the colors. And they say there's the RGB LED screen. RGB stands for red, blue, green light emitting diode. That's what all the latest models have, replacing the OLED and the mini LEDs that have dominated the market. According to PC Mag, at CES, Hisense showcased their 116UXS model featuring this RGB mini LED Evo technology. I just want a TV. I don't have to have vivid colors. I'd like the stories to be good. But honestly, Pitt is fantastic, but it's vivid enough for those people who don't like medical. See the birth and the I&D of hyphema and all these other things that they show. It doesn't have to be super vivid for me. Just make it a good story. Now, in the past, LEDs would only emit white or blue light. They could adjust to improve contrast, but not color vividness. So that's what these RGBs do. They have clusters of red, blue, and green lights to help improve the contrast. I still don't know how a TV works. I have no idea how Hollywood makes something, and then I get to see it in my bedroom. I don't understand that, but we get to see TV. What else? Wi-Fi 8 is on the horizon. They say I don't even think I have Wi-Fi 7, but they say Wi-Fi 8 is going to be the new standard, even more improved than Wi-Fi 7. Wi-Fi 8. Apparently, they have Asus debuted their concept router, the ROG Neo Core, and they plan to sell those by the end of 2026. Wow. The laptop chip race is heating up, so there's more of those that they showed at CES. Apparently, AMD teased its Ryzen AI 400 series set to launch in the first quarter in laptops and mini desktops. I think that's great. Your processors, all of those, that's great. But I got to tell you, these laptops, they just keep dying. on me. So figure out, I just had a new laptop and then it said that the hardware wasn't recognized and it's dead. And I'm like, well, what happened to this? So yeah, I could have the most amazing chip in it, but if it's dying anyway, no, I'm not a fan. Foldable phones. Those are something that we start to see. And I do not have a foldable phone because I have an Apple, but you can bet that Apple's going to want to jump on this. And so rather than just one slab, CES showed two models of foldable devices that promise larger screens, but they're not much bigger in your pocket because they fold. And it opens up like a book or like a paper brochure, and then you get this 8-inch display. But here's my problem. I don't want my phone to be, I like it small. I mean, I don't want to hold a book when I'm on the potty. You know, I like the small phone. So I don't know. And then there's going to be more practical smart home devices, you know, like our microwave, ring sensors, smart blinds to reduce our energy bill. There's a $99 Vivo smart toilet. It analyzes our urine, shares hydration data. And then Kohler debuted a $600 model that analyzes your poop. There's going to be exoskeletons to boost our physical performance, I guess, when we work out. So PC Mag lists a bunch of stuff. Pretty cool. 1-877-Doc-Dolly.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
We're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. So this question comes up. Where do your naked pictures go when you send naked pictures to the doctor? I'm not talking naked sexy pictures. I'm not talking OnlyFans. But if you are doing telemedicine and you are uploading a photo of your body part, where does that go? Or if you're having plastic surgery, this was before telemedicine, and the doctor took pictures, where do those pictures go? Well, a picture is worth 1,000 words and can live thousands of years, depending on how it gets replicated and kept. And all medical providers are supposed to be using the utmost security for your medical records, and they need to be very secure. But the answer to that is if you had a picture at a plastic surgeon's office, that picture could still be there. That chart could be in the hands of another provider. Nurses could see it. Anybody who wants to see it can. They shouldn't. They shouldn't go into your record. Remember, people in LA, staff in LA would get in trouble because movie stars would come into hospitals and staff would be telling people or looking at their chart. You're not supposed to. That's against HIPAA. You get into a lot of trouble. But any pictures you've taken, that are in a medical record, if it was non-electronic, depending on the state that doctor practiced in, they have to keep those records for at least 7 years, in some states 10 years. And then if they are going to retire, either they have to still keep the records for a certain amount of time until the statute expires, or if another physician takes over that practice, that other physician gets those pictures and those records. Or if the time has lapsed, then those records need to get destroyed if they're not going to be used. So paper charts, the majority of them, if they were old, most likely have, been destroyed by old doctors that might have already retired or died. But for those who went electronic and they uploaded things into an electronic system, those things could be there for life. Now, I bring this up because there's a lot of hesitation people are having as it pertains to telemedicine. For a doctor to treat you remotely or virtually without an exam, if this is a phone call, most telemedicine companies require you upload a picture of the body part in question. So if you say, I have strep, yeah, we can ask certain questions, but I've had people lie all the time. They go, oh, yeah, I got white spots all over my throat. I have all the white pus pockets like strep. So we're like, okay, we do require a picture for us to treat for strep. And when you do the picture, it doesn't even look like strep. And so with telemedicine companies, because of liability and because they're, to commit you to 10 days of antibiotics, they need to be sure. Also, what if you have flu or COVID or mono? There's other recommendations or treatments for that that we require a picture. And so some of the companies, let's say you have genital herpes. Originally, I thought you could just treat, but even most companies still say, no, if you're treating a rash, if you're treating that, you need to upload a picture. You need to upload a photo. And so we tell patients to cover their genitalia if they want to, maybe zone in on the rash. If they're afraid of there being any identifying features but I know people are shocked by telemedicine companies suggesting that you upload a picture. But if you went into the doctor like you used to, like it's always been, or a medical provider, and you said, I have a genital rash, I think it's herpes, we would take a look. That's what we're supposed to do. Now, I understand doctors later stopped looking and examining and touching patients, but we always took a look, documented what we saw, cluster of vesicles, etc. It's interesting. I had a patient saying, I have shingles, and I get shingles 5 times a year in the same spot. I'm like, well, that's odd. You shouldn't get shingles that much. Oh, yeah, I've had shingles 50 times, she says. And I go, where? And she says, it's on my butt. I get shingles on my butt. So we had her upload a picture. It was herpes. She's getting repeated herpes outbreaks. And she argued with me, it's not herpes, it's shingles. I go, well, they could do a test, but shingles is a little different. With herpes, there's a way you could prevent it, from happening if you take oral medication. And, there were shingles that we have vaccines, but, I think she got the shingles vaccine. And she said, I still get it's because you're not having shingles, you're having herpes. They could look similar, but shingles usually wraps around from the dermatome, from, the back down across the chest or across the stomach, or it could be across your eye. But with herpes, there's usually a cluster in a localized area. And so that's why we have to ask for a picture. So now for those of you who are concerned about privacy, well, these are your options. Because if where does the picture go? Well, the picture goes into software. And then that software, however, it's stored. There's a storage and there's encrypted access. But unfortunately, as you've seen with hackers can still access it. Now, for me, I don't care what the hackers see. I don't have anything that I'm, afraid of. I don't really have any genitalia pictures. If there were, I'm sure it would look better than how I normally look. So I welcome whatever AI could do. I don't mind. But for many of you that are like, I saw a doctor years ago for something, I really don't want anybody to ever know about that. What's in your medical records are supposed to be safe, are supposed to be secure. But if you're going to be using telemedicine, you have to understand that you might have to be uploading pictures. And if you do upload pictures, those are in a file. For those of you that want privacy, then there's a couple options. One is, like I said, you could ask the medical provider, can I have towels or my clothes on? And then I do a close-up, of the rash, and, there's no identifying features of me in the photo, things like that. So you could ask about that. Or have a medical provider that you're comfortable with that you go to. This wasn't an issue when people were seeing their regular provider. I am blown away at how many women do not have a gynecologist. We all had to have gynecologists. And then that gynecologist would be the one we went to when we got pregnant. That would be the gynecologist that then later delivered our baby. You always had a gynecologist. The average woman doesn't. So they have a gynecological issue and they're calling telemedicine. I'm grateful that telemedicine can help them, but then they're all embarrassed. Well, that you need to, and one of you had asked, how do you nurture your doctor so they don't drop you? Well, one is you have to do their recommendations. If they say, I'll see you in 5 years, well, then see you in 5 years. But if they say, no, I want you to come in for your yearly physical, we'll keep an eye on your ovaries. We'll check your urine. We'll check your blood work. Just follow their instructions. If they're instructions that you like and are practical, you can always get a second opinion. Also, pay your bill. If you don't pay your bill, they're going to drop you. And the number one reason why people don't have their doctor is because they're not paying their bill. Well, then, they're not going to want to see you. You won't be welcome in that office, sadly. But, having your go-to helps. So we have patients calling up asking for kidney stone treatment online. They're saying, I'm passing a kidney stone. So our first question is, have you been CAT scanned? What's the size? Is it stuck? Is the kidney swollen? Oh, I don't know. I just have kidney stones. And so my urologist gives me medications. I go, okay, have you contacted your urologist? No, I haven't seen him in years. Well, then, I can't treat that because I don't know what size. I don't know if you need lithotripsy, if you need a stent, if you just need Flomax. Are you having an infection? Maybe it's not a kidney stone. So, I would talk to your medical provider and say, look, I don't want to be in a position where I don't have anybody. And then my only option is going to the ER, which is very expensive. What do you recommend so I still have a relationship with you? And they'll say, just come in for your routine, checkups. Let's, do kidney stone prevention. Let's do a kidney stone risk, a 24-hour urine to see what you're at risk for to hopefully prevent kidney stones. But these are important conversations to have. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot's Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot's Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.